What happens when two teenagers enter the NHL and suddenly make veteran defensemen look like they're still sorting out the basics? That's the real question here. Not who wins a comparison on paper, not who you take in a fantasy draft, but who shifts the feel of a game the instant they're on the ice. Connor Bedard or Macklin Celebrini. And it's not just curiosity about the next big prospect. It's about how rare it is for players this young to arrive and immediately force teams to rethink how they defend, how they adjust between shifts, and how much room they're willing to give up in the neutral zone. Because this isn't a simple who scores more argument. It's two very different influences pressing on the league in their own ways. Bedard brings that quick spark, finding space, shooting before anyone reacts, turning structured plays into openings. Celebrini applies steady pressure, controlled movements, small advantages, and decisions that look ordinary until you realize the puck is now somewhere better. Both approaches matter, and both can tilt a game in ways that don't always show up on a score sheet right away. Bedard plays like constant motion, slipping through tight gaps with hands that don't hesitate. Celebrini plays like someone who understands when to lean into a moment and make the shift move around him. One adds a sudden push, the other gradually takes hold of the ice until he's running it. And if you track how their shifts unfold over multiple games, you start noticing patterns. Bedard opening space with quick cuts, Celebrini forcing opponents to stay honest because he never wastes a touch. So ask yourself this: if the game comes down to one tense shift, do you want the first quick strike or the presence that stays calm? Hold that thought for a moment. Let's go through it. Because answering that question without context doesn't tell you much. You need to see how each player creates, reacts, and handles pressure when the moment gets tight. Start with what everyone sees. Bedard's offensive response is immediate. The way he takes a puck on the half wall and adjusts his blade before any space closes is hard to defend. That timing isn't taught. It's refined, sure, but the base is natural. Year 1, 61 points in 68 games. Year 2, 67 in 82. And that's with teammates still settling into their roles. He runs a power play like he understands where pressure is coming from before it shows. Small curl, slight drag, head up, and the puck is off his stick before most players react. It's not just creation, it's recognizing openings early. You see him scanning constantly, not in a flashy way, but in a deliberate way that feels almost quiet, like he's filing information away for the right second. Now, shift to Celebrini. His game develops across full sequences, not single touches. He's not aiming to surprise, he's aiming to wear down a shift. That's why his 5-on-5 impact stands out. While Bedard's most dangerous moments spike with room, Celebrini pushes play forward consistently. Expected goals numbers tilt in his favor, but more noticeable is how defenders subtly adjust when he's out there. He moves through the middle not by outrunning anyone, but by finishing movements at the right time. His hands aren't as sharp as Bedard's, but his whole posture communicates plans earlier, which disrupts gap control enough to matter. And what makes this more impressive is how rarely he forces things. He takes what's there, nudges it forward, and suddenly the shift is tilted without a single highlight-level move. Numbers seem like they should settle this, until they don't. Bedard's points per 60 sits around 2.75. Celebrini's around 2.74. Nearly the same. But when you look at something else, Celebrini's individual point percentage at 5-on-5 is over 88%, meaning if his line scores, he's almost always part of it. Bedard sits in the mid-70s, still strong, but different. At even strength, Celebrini builds the play. Bedard finds the moment within it. And this is where watching matters more than reading numbers. The two create value in different shapes. Switch to special teams. When Bedard runs PP1, the setup widens because he changes how penalty killers position themselves. He'll open his stance like he might shoot, then pass inside while defenders are still reading his angle. Celebrini's power play work isn't as direct, but his penalty killing matters. He reads pressure, angles passes out wide, anticipates exits, and when he wins a puck, he drains time instead of forcing something risky. It won't show up in highlights, but coaches value it. And if you watch him closely, you notice how often he communicates. A small gesture, a quick reminder, tiny details that smooth out a kill unit. People might say Bedard looks more dynamic, But this isn't only about first impressions. It's about how each style holds up over full shifts. Watch Bedard off the puck. He scans more than most players his age, often twice before receiving. He waits a little higher in the slot, almost looking for a counter chance. Celebrini gets lower, extends contact, and leaves the zone with a steadiness that settles his teammates. You almost never see him rush a decision. He's comfortable letting the play take an extra second if it means a cleaner exit. Shot generation splits them too. Celebrini puts up about 10 shots per 60, steady, constant attempts. They don't always look dangerous, but they build pressure. Bedard shoots less, but when he does, quality spikes. He makes tough angles feel possible by adjusting his release slightly. Goalies prepare early when he winds up, which forces defenders to react. Celebrini's shots don't cause instant panic, but they pull coverage tighter and create rebounds over time. One produces immediate threat, the other accumulates it. These differences matter when you look at long stretches of play. One shifts momentum quickly, the other slowly tilts the ice until defenders start cheating inside. There are moments you only catch after rewatching. Bedard enters near the right dot and rotates his shoulders like he might go wide, then snaps into a heel-to-toe shift that slips him inside a narrow lane. That's hard to defend. Celebrini isn't using deception as much. He sets himself in spots where the efficient route is already open. He picks up a loose puck on the boards, adjusts, and starts a cycle that looks plain until several touches later when it turns into a chance. His effect shows in controlled space, not quick breakthroughs. And that kind of play becomes even more valuable in playoff-style hockey where cycles matter as much as rushes. Then think about situations. Down 1, 2 minutes left, offensive zone draw. If you want an instant play, you give the puck to Bedard. He'll force something to happen. Switch it. Up 1, 25 seconds left, defensive zone face-off. Celebrini ties up the center, stays balanced, and kills time without creating risk. Matching the moment that young is impressive. And what stands out is how neither shies away from responsibility. You can tell teammates trust them in these spots, which is rare at their age. Weaknesses matter too. Bedard sometimes jumps toward the breakout before pressure is fully gone. It's not effort-related, it's early anticipation. Experience will settle it. Celebrini occasionally believes a passing lane is open when it's closing, trusting his timing a bit too much. When it fails, it can lead to a rush. Both are normal development points, and the fact that these are the main concerns speaks to how solid their foundations already are. The more you watch, the more you realize they're not competing for the same identity. They show two ways to lead. Celebrini makes tough minutes shorter, Bedard flips them quickly. Line mates feel that differently. With Bedard, you wait, arrive late, and trust the opening shows up. With Celebrini, you're part of the play from the start. That becomes important in long series with tight matchups. And when matchups tighten, these differences separate good players from players who drive results. Look ahead. Bedard's game relies on touch and reading plays. That usually ages well because processing speed stays. Celebrini's game relies on structure. That ages well too because good habits hold even as physical peak fades. If Bedard adds strength and net front play, he'll win more tight battles and add another scoring layer. If Celebrini improves his first step quickness and finishing touch, he becomes harder to predict. Both have room to grow in ways that build on what they already do well. Imagine the scenario all debates land on. Game 7, overtime, 1 turnover, puck on your center stick, a winger wide, a back checker closing. Do you want the pass that slips through a stick or the shot that goes far side before anyone reacts? You'll choose instinctively. That's not data, it's how you think games turn. And whichever instinct you have says as much about you as it does about them. If you're expecting a final answer, that misses the point. The value here is that your pick changes depending on which situations you care about most. You can favor one and still understand the other wins differently. You're not choosing who's better overall, you're choosing a type of influence. One pushes quickly, one holds steadily. What keeps this interesting is that both styles can lead to the same result, one shift that turns control your way. I'll keep watching them and adjusting my thoughts based on new plays. That's honest. You don't watch two players like this and pretend your opinion stays fixed. They're too young, too talented, and still evolving for anyone to pretend this debate won't shift again. So when someone asks you who you choose, don't rush the name. Think about the kind of moment you trust more. Is it the quick threat that changes a game fast, or the steady pressure that brings control back over a shift? Then say the name tied to that version of winning. Tape your stick, keep your opinion quiet if you want, just know what you're actually choosing. These two aren't competing to be best. They're showing there's more than one way to control a game. And if you're paying attention, you're seeing something uncommon at an age when most players are still catching up. That's worth remembering. Now answer the question in your own way, not because you have to, but because it's interesting to see how you think the game works. Stick with your choice for at least a period. Change it if another shift proves something new. That's how this discussion goes. That's the point.